For as much as the White House is taking a victory lap in the public and in the media after Trump's strikes on Iran, they are much less interested in answering questions from members of Congress. No surprise. I mean, the administration was supposed to provide classified briefings for all members today on the strikes, but all of a sudden, that got postponed to later in the week. As you might expect, some Democratic leaders are not happy about it.
This last-minute postponement of our briefing is outrageous, it's evasive, it's derelict. They're bobbing and weaving and ducking. There is a legal obligation for the administration to inform Congress about precisely what is happening. What are they afraid of?
What are they afraid of? These type of briefings happen all the time. Maybe they're afraid of answering questions about headlines like these, about an initial intelligence assessment that contradicts basically a lot of their claims about what those strikes accomplished. Maybe there's other things. Joining me now is Democratic Congressman Jim Himes of Connecticut. He's the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. There's so many questions I want to ask you, but let me start with this. The briefing was delayed until later this week, Friday. There was, as has been reported today, an assessment that was sent up to the Hill. Was that something you've been able to see?
I think you're referring to the DIA assessment that CNN and the New York Times are reporting on. I have seen it, obviously classified, so I can't get into the details, but yeah.
And the gang, you're part of the Gang of Eight,
yep.
Which is a group that has been briefed on intelligence matters by Democratic and Republican presidents for many, many years. Have you been briefed as the Gang of Eight, aside from this Friday briefing? And how have you felt about your engagement with the administration about the intelligence leading up to this and what there is to know post the strikes?
Well, I mean, this goes back to pre-strike, right? Yeah. Ordinarily, if the administration were abiding by the law or with custom or with anything else, they might have given us a little bit of a heads up. And interestingly enough, my Republican counterpart on the Intelligence Committee, Rick Crawford, did get a phone call. I did not. I suspect that's probably because I'm a Democrat. So, you know, they have sort of weaponized the informing of Congress along partisan lines. Now, you would have thought perhaps that immediately after the strikes, they might have had a briefing so that we, whose constitutional duty is to approve war or make declarations of war. No, they did not do that. And in fact, we were to get briefed as a whole House and as a whole Senate this afternoon. They canceled that and postponed it to Friday. So Congress remains almost entirely in the dark on what is one of the most consequential foreign policy moves that the United States has made in a decade.
And if it were on the other shoe, Republicans in Congress would be
you couldn't get near the building for all of the impeachments, you know. The
exactly.
Remember, I'm old enough as you are to remember Benghazi, you know, 9 committees of inquiry around Benghazi, which was an unfortunate thing. But there were the conspiracy theories that would be spinning right now if this party were, dealing with a President Joe Biden would be unbelievable. So, look, hopefully on Friday we'll get a sense of what's gone down. And I'm going to be very, very interested because I can't get into the report that you referenced earlier. But look, it's publicly known because a commercial satellite company took photos of trucks backing up to, one of these nuclear facilities. The Iranians, evil though the regime may be, are not stupid people, right? So, and this strike has been advertised for some period of time. So if you were an Iranian regime member, you know exactly what you would do. You would take the really critical stuff and you would move it away from what you knew was going to be targeted. What'll be interesting here is that, of course, Donald Trump will, and he did it by tweet just a moment ago, say that these sites are completely destroyed. I don't know. You can make your own judgment about that. But it would be sort of interesting if you destroyed a bunch of sites where there wasn't anything underneath, right? What's interesting to me is that Donald Trump will do Donald Trump, but the Israelis are dead serious about this, right? And so the Israelis are supposedly abiding by a ceasefire right now. But if they're seeing what an awful lot of people with public reporting can see, they're going to be very, very concerned.
Meaning they're not done yet, probably.
If they believe, if any of this reporting is accurate, and again, I can't get into it, that we didn't get all of the stuff, the uranium, the centrifuges or stuff, you can bet the Israelis will be back.
Now, one of the challenges here is that even if more of it was destroyed, and we'll see what we learn through public reporting over the coming days, you can't destroy the know-how. The Iranian parliament today cut off their relationship with the IAEA to the degree that there was a productive one. And there's been reporting that they may redouble their efforts on maybe a covert program, whatever it may be. What concerns do you have about what the Iranians could do from here.
So, I mean, put yourself in the shoes of Iranian, right? You tried the diplomatic route. You agreed to the JCPOA under Barack Obama, the Iran nuclear deal, right? And it was a tough negotiation, took forever. But it's the one thing, by the way, as we all know, the one thing that actually slowed the roll of the Iranians towards a nuclear weapon. You know, they shipped all of their uranium to Russia. They shut down the centrifuges. And then Donald Trump tears that up. Then, just a few weeks ago, when there are actual negotiations underway, the Israelis attack, followed by a U.S. attack. So if you're an Iranian regime guy, you say, wait a minute, we tried that diplomacy thing, and it just doesn't work. So what's your alternative? Your alternative is to look at North Korea, which developed a bomb in secret. And now, by the way, nobody's invading North Korea. Pakistan, India, all of these countries that developed weapons in secret. And you say to yourself, you know, the Ukrainians gave up their nuclear weapons. What happened to them? The Libyans gave up their nuclear weapons. What happened to Muammar Gaddafi? So if you're an Iranian regime person, and this is my worry is not that there's going to be a military attack on our naval assets in Bahrain or on our airfield in Qatar. My worry is that the Iranians are going to be evidently behaving themselves beautifully for the next 6 months because they've taken the good stuff and they're going to do exactly what North Korea does. And we're going to learn whether this raid was a success when there's actually a nuclear weapons test in Iran. So, again, it's not military action against our people that really worries me right now. It is 6 or 7 months of the Iranians behaving themselves perfectly because they actually have taken the decision to develop a weapon.
And we won't have any visibility into
And we'll have
it.
zero visibility.
Do you worry at all, because there's been a round of reporting, threat assessments, all those sorts of things about the United States cyber attack potential? The Trump administration gut a lot of the Department of Justice and Department of Homeland Security programs on terrorism. They're trying to now put them back in place. It's very hard to do that 6 months in. Do you worry about the threats that they can't hit us with a weapon, but are you worried about what the Iranians could do here on the homeland?
So if the Iranians chose to take the route of, attacking us, yeah, I mean, as you know, there's a 22-year-old who apparently used to work in landscaping who's at the Department of Homeland Security on terrorism right now. I can tell you from experience that the intelligence community looked at what happened when they produced a report saying that actually the Tren de Aragua folks, the gangs, are not driven by Venezuela, and a lot of people got fired. So we are not configured for maximum security right now. But, again, put yourself in the shoes of an Iranian leader, right? Do you launch a terrorist attack in London and in New York? No, you'll get brutalized. Mm-hmm. What you do is you behave like a Boy Scout, you go very quiet, you abide by the ceasefire, mm-hmm. and if you've set yourself up to do it, you develop a nuclear weapon. That's really my fear right now.
Whew, that's quite a fear to leave us with.